Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Minh, and I'm your co-host with Debbie from the SDA Housing Podcast. I show that explains, highlights, guides, and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing in this world. Debbie, how are you?
Hello, Minh. I'm well, thank you.
We just got back from our Melbourne trip, 3-4 days each. And how was it, Debbie? How was the trip?
Oh, Melbourne was amazing. We had such a good trip. We met lots of people. We held an event, and I think everything was really successful.
What do you think was the reason why we held this SDA Masterclass in Melbourne? Our reasons why we did it, and what do we hope to achieve, and what did we achieve?
Okay. Why did we hold this event in Melbourne? But we have a lot of clients in Melbourne. We have a lot of potential clients from Melbourne. We have a lot of properties that are either constructed or under construction in Melbourne. We have a lot of builders and developers we're working with in Melbourne. So a lot of what we're doing in the SDA world is in Melbourne, and it's just a really good location to bring people together.
But why the SDA Masterclass, may I ask?
We decided to hold this event, I guess, because we are now getting a lot of very sophisticated investors coming to us, as we've touched on in previous recent episodes, who really want to have far more in-depth advice on SDA. And we thought that we would provide this opportunity for people to sit down and have a full day of an in-depth information session from a whole lot of different fantastic speakers in the industry on really what is going on in the SDA world. Kind of a crash course, but like a real, for people who've already got a good understanding and grounding, but, you know, the more complex and advanced kind of information.
Debbie, why do you think that this was different from all the other workshops and conferences and seminars and webinars we've done in the past 3 to 4 years? How was this different, I guess?
Well, it was the content and the level of attendees, the level of their knowledge. As I said, experienced investors, not necessarily experienced in SDA, but generally they've already done a lot of their homework. So they do have a good grounding and a good understanding. The speakers who came along, who have presented at other events numerous times as well, or been on I think all of them actually have been on podcast episodes in the past or webinars with us, or both. The information they gave, the presentations were really advanced, really good information.
The reason why I like this is because, number one, we held it, Debbie.
Yep.
It was our event, and we controlled the agenda. Kudos to all those people out there, all those groups or brands out there who do SDA conferences, SDA seminars, SDA gatherings. They're all great. They're great for the community. But I guess that this time was different because we controlled the narrative in this closed room environment of 30 people, 35 people or so. And we were able to talk about things that we can't talk about on the podcast, and we can't talk about in a webinar, which is published online publicly. Now, Debbie, can you explain to us, to our listeners, what I mean by that? Are you know?
Well, there is information that we don't necessarily want to make public, or we can't make public for various reasons. Kind of, secrets of SDA or just intel on the industry, which we believe our investors should have knowledge of. But yeah, we can't really do it publicly.
Because I guess people will, I don't know,
either steal that information because it's such good information.
True. But also, when you talk about bad actors in the SDA, right?
Litigation.
No. I'm not worried about them. You can sue me if you want. I've got nothing to sue. Right? Our reputation's priceless. But, there's certain things you can't talk about publicly. But in a closed environment, you can. And I was really glad that those who came to our event, right, they really appreciated it.
Mm. And I also want to point out that other events that are held out there, which are fantastic, are far more general about SDA and probably really are targeted at the whole stakeholder population within this area, a lot of providers and different people, different actors within the industry. But this was really targeted at builders, developers, investors.
Yeah, it was advanced technical knowledge.
Advanced, yes, very much so.
We didn't have any sponsors at all for our event. We didn't, make money out of this event. Like, it wasn't commercially driven. It was driven by education and exposure. I think that was the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were not doing this for money. Okay, we're all about sharing the knowledge and sharing the information to people who want to learn, and that's the key. Even if those people rock up our competitors, it's okay. At least they're learning. Now, speaking of learning, Debbie, we met a gentleman, 68 years old, right?
63, I think.
63 or
65? No, he was under 60, mid-60s.
Tell us more about him.
Yeah, lovely gentleman who met up with us on Friday afternoon, actually. The our Masterclass event was on Saturday, but he came and met with us in our hotel on Friday. He has listened to every single one of our podcast episodes. Thank you so much. You know who you are. And he is a builder developer, comes from an engineering background from memory. His wife is a doctor. His son is an occupational therapist who has done his SDA assessors course. He has other family members in either the building construction industry or healthcare, I think, from memory. He really wanted to get into the SDA world, so he's done a huge amount of research, some of which involved listening to our episodes, and he has now progressed to almost ready to construct 10 different houses across southeast Melbourne and down into the Morning Peninsula. So he came in to tell us all about them.
But more so, he said everything that was spoken on for those 250, 260 episodes, he's implemented.
Yeah, particularly the future-proofing. He said, I love that. He said every single future-proofing idea that we put forward, I put in to all our properties.
So thank you, our number one podcast listener.
The number one fan, yes.
Yes, but you know what impresses me most? He put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah.
10. Not one. He's doing 10 right now.
Yes.
He's funding it all himself. And, he believes in the product. He believes in the sector. But he came to us because in our last episode, Debbie, like 2 episodes ago, we talking about one-part contracts, alternatives. And what was that about again, that topic?
That was about the fact that the typical SMSF buyer needs to have a third party to do the 2-part house and land contract converted into a single part so that their SMSF can buy it, and the costs and the complications of that. And we said that we do work with a very limited number of developers or builders who can potentially provide a single part contract from the outset.
And he said he was willing to contribute to that need.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was originally planning on building these 10 properties for himself to keep.
And retire on, by the way.
Yeah. But he thought, look, this is a long-term plan for me. I was going to do the first 10 and then potentially do another 10, all going well. But I'm willing to actually sell these either at completion or now, before construction or during construction, if there are interested buyers out there. And I will continue to do these developments.
Mm. So that was just one example of someone who came along, didn't attend the masterclass, obviously, but wanted to meet and greet us just to show that he was really implementing everything that he's learned from the podcast to better the community, because he believes in the SDA need in the NDIS, for sure.
Yeah.
But back to our masterclass, Debbie. We met up with a whole bunch of people we've been talking to, clients of ours and new potential clients and competitors and whatnot. It was just good to be able to give this information knowledge over and have a safe environment where we can all talk and learn from each other.
Yeah, look, it was. And it was a really interesting bunch of people. Thank you to everyone who did come along. We had a fabulous time, and I'm sure that you all got quite a bit out of it.
What were some of the topics that was covered in the
Oh, look, I'm going to start from who was speaking. We had a building designer who spoke all about the design guidelines and how they're implemented, the difficulties, the best practice of design within SDA. Went into really good detail there. We had an SDA provider who spoke all about funding levels, the difference between SDA and SIL, whole lot of different things from a provider's perspective. We had someone who does adjustable height systems, talking all about the importance of not just putting in the minimum designs as in one adjustable height benchtop in the kitchen, but throughout the entire dwelling and everything from all the cupboards in the kitchen, the wardrobes, everything that can be height adjustable or movable so that people can access it. We had a builder developer talking about just from their aspect how it all works. We had a few of us from here at NDIS Property spoke about the SDA process, the complexities involved. The data touched on respite and short-term accommodation. And, of course, we had someone speaking about finance. I think that was it.
That's correct. But, the most important part was we talked about oversupply and demand areas.
We did a lot of talk about that.
And because we were in a room, we were sharing that knowledge together, which we wouldn't have done outside of that room. Online, no. We were talking about ways we can decipher and get data outside of normal data, like really advanced data. And we're looking at trying to find those ways to draw that information out from certain parties in the community, in the industry, to give us a leg up and give us the ability to give that information to our clients as well. But, we spoke with one of our good clients, Mark from Melbourne. He had been talking to you and myself for many months now, 7 months or 6, 7, 8 months.
Is in the process of his first development, which is an SMSF purchase, now looking at doing one outside of SMSF.
In the Riverlands area?
Yes, well, in the New South Wales regional area up there.
But because of the podcast series and topics we've been covering the last so long, he was able to learn a lot. Because I remember, Debbie, you did a podcast on Geelong, and then he came back to you with, I want to get in Geelong. And then also because of the podcast from SMSFs. That's actually there. Now, because of the Riverland or the regional areas there of Victoria there, he wants to go there as well. So the podcast is all about sharing information, which gives investors the opportunity to implement those ideas for the purposes of disabled people in the community. Right? And he was a very genuine person. So, Mark, it was a pleasure to meet you. Great to hear all the feedback from you and why you're doing what you're doing. And we wish you all the best. And we hope to see you again sometime in the future in Melbourne as well. But what else can we share about the event, post-event? Just getting to know people on a personal basis.
Oh, totally. We had, it was a full day event from 8:30 till 5, but we held a drinks session afterwards where everybody came. We also had a few other guests that joined us on the day, other builders and developers, or just people that are our friends in the space. And I think everyone was there for a couple of hours. We had such an amazing time getting to know these people, finding out their stories and understanding where they're coming from. We had guests who flew over from Perth, Adelaide, Sydney, and it was just really a wonderful day. I think the attendees all got something really powerful out of it. And ourselves, there was 4 of us from our team who were there, Minh, myself, Larissa and Maddie. And I think we just had a wonderful time doing what we love to do most, speaking with people about SDA, educating them and, talking the real nitty-gritty stuff.
It brings a huge amount of pleasure to us, Debbie, to see and hear people follow the advice provided by all our speakers on our podcast the last 2 years and show us they're implementing it. The investors, the developers and builders, they're implementing what we're saying because we're sharing the information to everyone. And I think if there was more people collaborating with each other, I mean, we're not for us, but with each other in whichever corner you are in Australia, with your local provider, with your local designer, your builder, your assessor, your care providers, just work together in your communities because that's the only way, right, collaboration-wise, you can all move forwards. And That's how you build trust amongst providers and investors and participants.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
As we said it from the beginning, the most important thing in this space is collaboration. There's so many stakeholders that are involved in just developing one property.
I think the real reason why we set up this podcast, Debbie, I mean, think about this 3.5 years ago. No one shared information. Think about that. I look back 4 years ago, it was all secret squirrel stuff. You couldn't find out any information other than from Google.
Yeah, there was a little bit of fantastic information out there from Summer Foundation, a couple of other organisations. That was it. There was nothing else. Of course, what was on the NDIS website, but yeah, there's so much more that you need to understand, and we struggled to find it.
And we thought to ourselves, why can't we be the market leader in giving information to the public?
Yeah, I don't think we actually thought of that at the time, but as we searched and spoke to people and learned and did start to gain an understanding, it was just part of that process, a natural part of that process, that we also shared that information.
So coming up, our next few masterclass events, Debbie.
We are going to be holding another masterclass in Brisbane. Just confirming the date, but it's going to be late July. This one was a Saturday event that we did in Melbourne. It looks like we're going to be doing a weekday event this time in Brisbane.
It'll either be a Monday or a Wednesday event. I'm not too sure what day.
Yeah, probably a Monday.
Yep.
Probably, I think the 21st of July rings a bell, around about that time anyway. And the one after that we're planning on doing in September is actually going to be an online all-day Zoom event.
Now, why we're doing a Zoom event is because we feel like we can get hundreds of people on this event, and speakers, probably 20, 30 speakers. Now, you're probably wondering why and how can there be hundreds of people watching or listening to a masterclass? Well, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say 100, right? How can there be 20 or 30 speakers in this one-day event? Well, we're going to have a main Zoom conference stage. We've all been to a Zoom video call, right? We all have. But in the professional Zoom accounts that we also have ourselves, you actually have breakout rooms, okay? So all the speakers, call it 20 or 25 speakers, will have probably 20 or so minutes on the main stage as a Zoom presenter, but they'll also have their own breakout room individually. And as the attendees who watch all the events, all the speakers, all day from 9 till 5:30, whatever it is, the attendees can go into private virtual rooms as a breakout room and talk to that specialist one-on-one, or watch their second or third presentation separately in that room there. So it allows people to come and go and roam around and talk to other attendees in different rooms in a conference environment within the Zoom structure. So that's going to be, I think, one of a kind there. Something's very special there, because normally people just go on and just listen and watch, but no one can really interact in an all-day event. So we're going to do our best to gather about 20 or so speakers or plus speakers and try and get a couple of hundred attendees to our event on our online Zoom SDA Masterclass in September. That'd be great, yeah.
So we haven't planned any beyond that, but given the success of this first one, I don't think we're going to stop.
No. Look, I want to reiterate, everyone, we're not doing this to make money. It's not about money, okay? It's about sharing information. And we see all the events of other people who are professional event organisers or other providers who in their get-togethers, whatever. They're all nice and cute, right? But our topic is more advanced. Like,
it's very specific.
Yeah, it really is advanced SDA, and that's what people want to hear. People may feel like, another boring SDA 101 workshop. No, there's plenty of that already. We're not doing SDA 101. We're doing advanced SDA, and we're bringing together some of the brightest minds are in Australia together to present this information. So I guess because of the whole trip to Melbourne thing, Debbie, we may have created logistics for our people, our speakers, but for an online event, that won't be the case. Not at all. Yeah. Cool. Any last words of advice for our listeners about what's happening around Australia, online or in person, in terms of seminars, workshops, conferences, or other things out there that can help them, Debbie, increase their knowledge out there for SDA?
Yeah, look, there are a number of different seminars and conferences that are held throughout the country during the year. There's a few good organisations online that do often offer online webinars about it. You've just got to search it out. Obviously they're advertising. You'll just Google SDA events, conferences, NDIS conferences, and you will track down a few of these different organisations. But as I said, they've often got more of a provider slant on it. But it's good general information that you should know anyway. But yeah, if you want to, if you do know a lot about this industry already and you really want to understand the real complexities, the more advanced specific information, I think that's what these masterclasses are offering.
But we have some webinars coming up too, Debbie, coming up ourselves.
Well, yeah, of course, we do webinars every month. So we are planning 2-3 in advance all the time. Our next one actually is going to be myself and Maddie, our respite coordinator, talking all about short-term accommodation and respite. So if that is something of interest to you, if you are a property owner who maybe has a house or an apartment that you currently are renting out as a short-term rental, it might be on Airbnb or Stays or Booking.com or something, and you want to just supplement your bookings that you're getting there, we'll be talking about that, how we do that. Also, if you are on the other side of things from the NDIS world, you work in the industry as a provider or a support coordinator or that area or participant, then if you want to find out more about what our properties offer and how our respite packages work, we'll be talking all about that as well.
After that webinar is, I think, yours and mine's about the SDA process.
Yes, I believe so. So we're going to be talking about that. Minh has, over the last couple of months, I guess, really put together a very detailed flowchart process of SDA investment and all the different stakeholders involved and how they all work together and all the different elements that need to be considered and understood and activated for this all to work. And, you can't just look after a couple of them and expect it to work. You need to be looking after all of those different arms of the process.
Can I say, not to promote myself here, but I didn't know how complex it was till I drew the map.
We knew it was complex, but...
But this, I'll be honest here, everyone. 2 months ago, I started drawing a map. And then it started growing bigger and bigger and bigger, like a flow chart, mud map. And it took me literally a week to build this map. And at the end of it, I went, oh my God, look how detailed this is. Look how, this is me 3-4 years later. This was basically in March 2024, I drew this map and it was complex. And I said to myself, this is me figuring this out. How does a poor mum and dad figure this out? They have no idea. So I emailed around to a couple of builders and designers and people I knew, and they were shocked at how detailed it was, as in, OMG, how complex this is. So as part of our webinar that you and I are doing, we're going to show this complex document, mud map, to you all who wants to register for the event to see how much information is on there, because the old saying is, you don't know what you don't know. Or is that the word? What's the words there?
You don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah, correct.
Or something like that, yeah.
So we're hoping to show this to the world, to you people, and get feedback from others to see how can we get more detail to grow this even further, because this information should be public and free, right? And we hope to gather together more minds who are contributing towards the SDA theme and to build upon this. Debbie, I think that between now and our September masterclass, we should invite some more specialists to our event, because we should town planner, project managers, more developers, OT,
more providers,
SDA assessors, just people who are really involved in SDA to our next online masterclass.
Absolutely.
Because I think they were lacking from our recent one on the weekend, but we can definitely have another 20 more.
There's just so many different aspects and people, as I said, so many stakeholders, and you really need to understand where all of them fit into the process.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Debbie, thank you so much for your time. As always, we welcome inquiries from our listeners, good, bad, and ugly. And by the way, I want to do another good, awesome podcast. We did the SDA Wall of Shame recently, but I think it deserves the SDA Wall of Fame to come out.
That's going to be part 2.
Yeah, SDA part 2. So where there's good, there's bad. If there's bad, there's good. So
that's right.
cover the bad. Now let's cover the good. Let's talk about the the good hard work that people do in the SDA.
And all the good stuff that's going on out there. Yeah.
Important, yes. We call it yin and yang, and good and bad, and balance. So there must be balance in the NDIS world, and we're trying to do our best to balance out the good and the bad stories and give hope
Absolutely.
to investors and participants.
Because, Minh, yes, there is difficulties and a lot of negative stuff going on in this industry, but I think the good does
far outweigh.
Absolutely. And we really need to focus on that.
Yes. So I apologise if I come out too negative about the awful actions of peoples, so the small minority here, but I've said it and done it. That's over, and back to the positiveness and the warm, lovely information that we want to share with the community. But always be conscious of the what if out there when you are investing lots of money out there in the community for the NDIS property side of things. Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Minh. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.